Hello, Jayco family, and welcome back to our Faces of Leadership series. Today we'll be sitting down with Trey Miller, our VP of Marketing, and he will be going through his journey and sharing some of his insights on Jayco marketing. All right, Trey, if you want to share with us, how long you've been with the Jayco family and just how you got your journey started and what it is that got you interested in marketing.
Sure. Yeah, I've been with Jayco now 3 years. Just celebrated my 3-year anniversary in December.
Congrats.
So, thank you. Started just after COVID, so
Wow.
It's been a fun ride last
Yeah.
3 years. Actually been in the industry, almost 25 years. So it's been my 24th year. Started pretty much right out of college. Started in the wholesale distribution side of the business, so selling to dealers on the aftermarket side, then transitioned over to the supplier side.
Okay.
So worked with a company, Dometic, which is one of our suppliers currently. Was there for about 10 years. Ended up as their vice president of marketing for the Americas. So was over different markets that they serve, from RV is one of their largest, to commercial passenger vehicle, outdoor industry. There's several others, but so got to be on a little different side of the fence with all the different industries, but gave me a lot of good insights. And I think, what interests me in marketing, it's kind of funny. I started in sales initially, and love sales, continue to love sales. And I do think marketing is kind of an extension of sales. But ultimately had children and needed to be a little closer to home at that time. So decided that marketing offered me a little bit better opportunity to be at home when my children were young. So kind of started down that aisle and kind of just continued down that. So it's now my passion, and I enjoy it, and it's great because now my daughter's kind of following in the footsteps, and now she's studying marketing in college. So it's fun to see now her going through the same type of journey.
Definitely. Wonderful. Are there any particular projects, from your 3-year journey here that you're particularly proud of? There's
a ton.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think the ambassador program has been wildly successful. And this is not because of me per se. I think I hopefully brought it to the table and allowed this amazing team to kind of take it from there. So I think the Ascend Ambassador program has been so successful, so fulfilling and rewarding. Seeing that grow from its infancy to where it is now, just the amount of exposure it provides, Jayco as a whole, all the different brands, to people that probably wouldn't have seen it, or we would have been kind of forced to spend a lot of money to reach them in terms of marketing. So that's a big one. I mean, there's a ton of others, but that's a fun one.
Nice. And so, marketing is just ever evolving. It's always changing. How do you personally try to stay on top of things?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's never easy because it changes daily. So it's everything from kind of keeping an eye on the competition, keeping an eye on parallel industries, seeing what they're doing, how they're evolving, seeing what the leaders are doing, seeing there's different podcasts, books. There's so many different ways that you can kind of keep your eye on where things are going. But at the end of the day, it's so fast and it's so evergreen and ever changing. It's just so difficult to kind of keep your finger on the pulse. So that in itself is kind of a full-time job.
Yeah, definitely. Just remaining flexible, I would say.
Absolutely.
And so what would you say is the most fulfilling part about, leading Jayco's marketing efforts and team?
People. It's always people. No matter what, just continuing to help grow the team, help grow individuals. I love coaching. I love to see people, come in and see them evolve and grow and learn and continue to, reach new heights. I love to see people take over teams. I can look in this industry and see a lot of, suppliers and other places where people that were on my teams before are now leading teams, and that's just super fulfilling to me. It kind of warms my heart to see it. So that's, people's always going to be my answer there.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be the general kind of consensus with everyone. So
Welcome to Jayco.
yeah. And so kind of building off of that, how would you kind of use those insights and implement them into your own personal leadership style?
I think if you start with people, if you start with, relying on people to make things successful, I think at the end of the day, training, growing, building people, and then allowing them to succeed, is going to make you successful. I think way too often people try to, take the reins and do everything, on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And one person can't do what, a full team can ultimately do.
Sure.
It's the power of a lot of people living up to their potential and doing those things that's going to make you ultimately successful. If somebody feels like, well, gosh, I can do it better than everybody, very quickly I learned in my career that, I can't do everything great. I can do a lot of things well, but at the end of the day, I'm not an expert. So surround yourself with amazingly talented people and get the heck out of their way and let them do a great job.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And so how would you say, or I guess what are some of the unique kind of challenges that you have faced leading a marketing team just in the RV industry, if you can think of any?
There's always challenges. There's challenges every day.
Mm-hmm.
I always say work is easy, people are hard.
Mm-hmm.
And you've probably heard me say that
Yeah.
before. At the end of the day, we're dealing with people. And not everybody's the same. Not everybody acts the same. Not everything, is cut and dry. It's not all black and white. So you have to live in the gray.
Absolutely.
So, those are hard things. And, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that, people have families, people have lives, people, and you have to remember that. We don't just live, to work. We live to, have a family. We live to, do all those things outside of this building. So it's making sure that we keep that in mind, and dealing with all those other things within our lives, people's lives, and working around that to ultimately succeed within business.
Wonderful. Yeah. And so kind of going off of that, would you say that in your experience, like, makes a good leader great? Or is there something else in mind that you would say?
What makes a good leader great?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's how you deal with people, how you cultivate your team,
Mm-hmm.
how, you grow everyone around you. I think at the end of the day, people aren't going to look at you and say, wow, you just did a great job. It's, how did you affect the people around you? How did you ultimately, raise everybody around you up? I think that's what makes great leaders great. I don't think it's just a job they do. I think it's the people they touch and everything that they affect.
Definitely the investment part too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so if you can think of a couple key marketing strategies that are, have been really impactful for Jayco, yeah, please share.
I think implementing our omni-channel program has been a big one. I think what I've noticed and implemented this in prior lives as well, that when you have a lot of different products, when you have a lot of things that you want to focus on, it's very difficult to do it in an effective way. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult when you're working with dealers and with partners to make sure that you're all aligned. Sure. Because at the end of the day, the amount of impressions, the amount of touch points that you have with that end consumer, with that dealer, that's what's most important. So if you're, for instance, advertising a J flight, this week, and a feather the next week, and a pinnacle the week after that. It's a very convoluted message, and you can't have those touch points that stack up. If you listen to the radio and you hear a commercial, you're going to hear them repeat a phone number 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all based on science, because when you hear something 3 times within a certain amount of time, you'll remember it.
Yep.
And when you hear it 6 or 7 times, it could potentially change the way that you do things. So that's all science, and that's how marketing kind of is stacked up. So if we can amplify the amount of impressions in a way that makes sense, and that's called omni-channel, where you're delivering a consistent message along different mediums. And then we work with our dealer partners and communicate that, hey, we're going to be communicating this on this date. We want you to do the same. So again, we're multiplying those impressions. People remember, it changes people's actions, and ultimately they end up buying an RV because of what we did. So I think omni-channel's a really good thing, and I think that's one of the things that I love to see has been implemented and continues to grow.
Nice. And to kind of wrap this portion up, just looking ahead, what excites you most about the future of Jayco marketing?
It never ends. It never stops. There's always different types of units. There's new units that are coming out. There's all different brands. So advertising or marketing with StarCraft is very different than with Integra or with Highland or with Jayco. So it's all different. I love, which is near and dear to your heart, the internal marketing piece of it as well. That I like to see that continue to grow. So it's exciting kind of across the board, internally, externally, and so never bored.
Yeah.
I never will be.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that's enough for the brass tacks part of the interview. Now for what everybody is dying to hear. So what do you love to do outside of work, Trey?
Love to spend time with family, love to travel, love to go to great restaurants, love to hike, love to be outside, love to experience nature. There's just so much I enjoy.
Yeah, you're in the perfect industry for that.
Absolutely.
Cool. And for those who don't know, Trey's an avid Jimmy Buffett fan. And so I have been curious, what is your favorite Jimmy Buffett song?
Oh my gosh. It's like asking who your favorite child is.
Well, I mean, the next question is, if you had to pick one to describe yourself, if that maybe that's a better way to put it?
Gosh, that's a tough one. I was listening this morning to A Pirate Looks at 40.
Mm-hmm.
And Buffett has a book called A Pirate Looks at 50. So I'm about to turn 50, so I guess I have to read that one. So maybe I'll say A Pirate Looks at 40.
Nice. Well, thank you, Trey, for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And stay tuned for more insights as we carry on with this series of the Faces of Leadership with the Jayco family of companies.